Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. When it comes to War Thunder, there is a mini event which is going on this weekend, and it is the Russian Air Force Day. And of course, this was only posted on the Russian side of things, but if you go into the game, if you go into your profile, achievements, and also the holiday section, you can find it to be able to do. It's going from the 12th of August to the 15th of August, and all you have to do, just like the standard events, you have to play 3 battles using Soviet aircraft and get the middle emblem of the Russian Aerospace Forces. All you have to do is play rank 3 and above and 70% activity, and you'll be able to get this decal. It does look pretty nice, and also it was added in a data mine pretty long ago now, so obviously those setting up for it. Another thing as well is the BiSH, or the MiG-15bis ISH, is now back on sale. It's come back for GE, so if you want to pick it up, it is available. I'll have a look at it for you. In general, not a huge fan, but it might be useful for certain things. Also, at the same time, there's a few different a few different changelogs and stuff that we'll go through afterwards. So if you want to see that and are not interested in the BiSH, then, you know, I have put some chapters in the video, so just click around to wherever you want to go. So obviously for this mini event, that if you want to find where it is, you just go to the holiday section, the Day of the Russian Air Force, right here. They brought back a specific vehicle, and that is the MiG-15bis, or the bis ISH. Now, this thing is going to be available until the end of the weekend. If you want to purchase it, it's going to be 8,560 GE, which is quite expensive, especially since the Su-11 is at 7,480, and basically gives you very similar rewards, just a little bit of less SL, and this one is pay to win, and this one is not. It's the opposite. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see this thing come back. Now, I will let you guys know I am going to purchase this. The reason for this is because when people ask me about vehicles, I like to show them on the stream or in videos. So even though I don't really recommend this one, that's why I'm going to be picking it up. Also, if you feel like picking it up, you can use the link in the description to get a 3% discount on the GE that you buy, and then also my decal in the game. And also it supports the channel. So what is the MiG-15bis? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a MiG-15bis which has access to extended rails on the wings, which screw with its flight performance, but give you additional uses when it comes to ground forces. So from a air point of view, like an air realistic point of view, the only reason to use this is because it's a MiG-15bis at 8.3 instead of 8.7. It has all the same characteristics, so you can see the VK1 engine that you have right here. You have a look at the MiG-15bis over here. It has the VK1 engine, and then if you have a look at the standard MiG-15, you have the RD-45F. So the BiSH is just a slightly lower BR standard bis, but just with extra weight and worse aerodynamics. So this thing doesn't fly as well as the standard bis. Then again, the MiG-15bis is one of the best performing aircraft at 8.7. So this thing being at 8.3, it will be completely competent to be useful in stuff like air realistic or air arcade, but its main use is in stuff like ground realistic. And at 8.3, there is actually a pretty cool VR for the Soviets. At 8.7 as well, you know, you have all the light tanks, the BMP-3, the 685, and all of that good stuff. At 8.3, you have the T-62, which is super fun. At 8.7, the T-62M, the T-55 you can throw into that lineup as well. The Sturm is around that BR. And one of the issues that the Soviets actually have at those BRs is lack of good AA. And when you have a look at the armed stuff, you have the Shilka, and then you have the ZSU-37-2. Both of these are pretty short range. The ZSU-37-2 is slightly longer, but its radar is absolutely gaff. The Shilka's radar gets bailed out by the fact that you're putting so much burst mass into the air, and then you have this huge gap for AAs. So unless you have the Sturm S with its wonderful HEVT ATGM, then you're going to struggle with killing a lot of aircraft in the air. And Nords and bullpups, even though they've been nerfed, are still effective and still used a lot by stuff like G91s and also by stuff such as A4s. You also have a lot of helicopters around these BRs nowadays, the Alouettes for example, the Scout helicopters, which you see a decent amount, and you need a counter for them. And one of the counters can be something like a Bish, because you have that ground ordnance option, and then also on top of it you have the flight characteristics of a MiG-15bis. It has nice rewards on it. It has dodgy guns. It's the worst thing about the MiG-15s in general. The 137 223mm, not fun to really use at all, but not terrible. It's just you have to get used to them every time you use the damn things. Then it has extra secondary loadout options compared to the standard machines that you find in the tech tree. I still would rather take something like an IL-28 with a 3,000 kilo bomb, and the standard MiG-15s actually do get bomb drops as well. They're not bad in general. You can see the 2250 on the MiG-15bis, and then on the the standard MiG-15 you get 2250 as well, which is a pretty decent bomb drop. And also the follow-up guns are pretty good at penning the top of stuff. I was actually using a few vehicles like the MiG-9 more recently to be able to pen the top of vehicles very effectively. So overall it's not too bad. The interesting thing about this is it actually has rocket CCIP, and this leads into another point. So this vehicle has access to S5Ks, and if you are a person who doesn't have access to any of the lower caliber rockets, like you aren't up there in China or the Soviets, or you don't have the British vehicles with the RN rockets, then one of the battle pass challenges is going to be really hard for you to do, and that is ballistics calculation. Now this is unlocked at level 40 of the battle pass, and you have to get 3 kills with light rockets, medium rockets, and heavy rockets. Now for light rockets, the best choice is the S5Ks. Now I personally used the IL-28 SH, because this thing gets a ridiculous amount of the S5Ks. It gets 192 of them. So all you have to do is point the target at a ground target and then just unleash hell in a rocket salvo and do a ton of damage with it. But if you're a person who doesn't have access to that, or doesn't have access to a bunch of other Soviet machines or Chinese machines, you won't have access to the S5Ks. So the Bish can be a way of basically buying your way into being able to complete this challenge. You know, you have the S5Ms, which are not very good, and then you have the S5Ks, which actually pen stuff and are slightly better. You get 48 of them on this machine, and it also gets the CCIP, so you'll be able to aim them pretty effectively. So if you are worried about completing that challenge, but you haven't ground out either Britain or Soviets or China, there's not really many other options out there, unfortunately. You have the ME-262 with its R4M rockets. They're absolutely terrible. But at the end of the day, you only do need 3 of the kills, so going into Air Arcade and doing it that way, maybe that would work. But you can see with the Bish, it has this little targeting thing here, which tells you where the rockets are going to go. And it is incredibly effective. The only problem is because the rockets are at an angle, it can be quite hard to aim, because you need to obviously look straight, and at the angle you're not looking straight. So yeah, it can be a bit annoying. It's a lot better than it used to be when it didn't have the CCIP. Before you just had to kind of guesstimate, but nowadays it's at least slightly better than before. You can see with the rockets, all you have to do is line it up and you just toss them in, and generally they will be pretty accurate on this, whereas the S5Ks usually aren't too accurate. With the CCIP, it's much easier to use, and I think this this BR is one of the only vehicles which has access to the rocket CCIP for these things. So yeah, if you want to get that challenge done, this is a pretty good pickup. Everything else though, you're basically just getting a heavier MiG-15, and that's not a bad thing, because of the BR that it's at, it is generally okay. I just feel like there are better options like the SU-7 and a few others that are around. So looking at the changelogs, the first one was the server updates, which happened on the 5th of August. Now, remember when we talked about the data mine and they added in all of these different controls for radar? Well, this is when they added stuff like that in. They say for airborne radar antenna, manual tilt control is available by using the radar IRST tilt control axis. If the radar antenna has pitch stabilization, it will keep elevation angle relative to the horizon regardless of own-ship maneuvers. The antenna manual tilt control allows players to search targets above and below without maneuvers such as climbing or diving. To use the antenna manual tilt control, the constant elevation of radar antenna option must be disabled, otherwise the antenna behaviors will be the same as before. The center line of the scan zone in elevation will have fixed position relative own-ship nose. So this is something which obviously is really cool. It's one of those nice little mechanics that's in the game which I feel like 99.999% of people won't use. But at the same time, it's just really cool to see because it's an extra step towards some little fun realism. And overall, what this means is you can direct your radar a little bit better now. So instead of it just aiming straight, you can actually tilt it. I doubt this is going to change the way that the aircraft flies, but it will change the way that you can search with your radar. And I'm sure there'll be more efficient ways of doing it. Like some people will work out what direction is best in battles to be able to direct it at, but it's just super cool. It also says the scan zone centerline and azimuth for radars of the F-14A, J-37, Mirage 3E, MiG-21s, all of them, the F-4EJ Kai, the AH-64D, and K-52 is controlled by horizontal radar IRST target Q control axis, regardless of target's cyclic switching for radar option. Also, for the F-14A and J-37 radars in TWS mode, the scan zone centerline always tracks the selected target. And also, for the F-14A and J-37, the radars in TWS mode, if target cyclic switching of air option is disabled, the target selection cursor is stuck to the selected target as long as it is not moved away by horizontal radar IRST target Q control axis or vertical radar IRST target Q control axis. So it's a little bit complicated, but I think you understand what it's saying at the end of the day. It's a pretty cool little system, and even though this doesn't apply to a ton of vehicles right now, you can understand this is a bit of future-proofing, right? Like for a ton of vehicles that are going to come in, they're going to have similar radars to these two. For the F-14A, the radar switching between two ACM modes, the VSL and BST, has been moved from change radar mode to change radar search mode command. So if you want to do that, you're going to have to kind of relearn the muscle memory. And for the F-14A radar in ACM modes, the BST and VSL, and in tracking mode TRK, it is possible to switch between pulse and pulse Doppler modes. This doesn't change the mode search PD, TWS, search PDV, SRC anymore. So for me, I actually found search PD to be the most useful out of the radars on the F-14. The TWS is really only good for the Phoenix missiles, otherwise it just confuses the AIM-7Fs that it uses, and also can kind of screw you up while you're trying to set up sidewinders, because you'll get a kind of an auto lock on a target and it'll try and attach the seeker to it and it just won't work very well. So for me, the search PD was really fun to use and probably the best out of all of them. The target appearance on radar rangefinder indicator also has been fixed, so you can see a ton of changes to radar in general, so pretty interesting to see. There was another server update on the 8th, and it was mainly changing a bunch of camouflages. So it says all author camouflages from trophies from the Starfighters, Viking Fury, Nordwind, and Night Vision updates now have the same rarity, which is unusual, or green. And in connection with the change in the rarity of camouflages from trophies from the Starfighters, Viking Fury, Nordwind, and Night Vision updates, the conditions of exchange of camouflage coupons for vouchers on console have been updated in accordance with their new rarity. and also the amount of ammunition for anti-aircraft and coaxial machine guns has been changed to a multiple of the length of the used belt. So that's pretty interesting. Some cool stuff there in general. It looks like they are changing a bunch of rarity of the camouflages. We'll have to see how that affects the market. I'm sure it won't affect it that much in general. But one thing that I will say is with reference to the market so far when it comes to the new event, even though it's definitely harder to do, I have been able to get all of the, well, I've been able to get no duplicate decals, which is fantastic, and I also completed 3 of my collections because I opened up 500 of the chests. I legitimately got nothing, by the way. Like, I got SL back, I got I got boosters, orders, and that's about it. I didn't get anything useful. I got 1 decal, which I already had. So I spent 30 million to basically get about 10 million SL back in you know, the Silver Lion stuff. So it was bad. There's no other way of putting it. There was also a large update which came out a few days ago, update 2.17.0.126, and in this one they actually added something pretty cool. An ammo indicator on ground vehicle machine guns has been added. Available ammo is displayed with a number and a scale. The animation of the filling this scale visually indicates reloading. Coaxial machine guns are combined into a single UI element, while an AA machine gun is displayed separately. The option is enabled by default. You may hide the indicator in Options, Ground Vehicle Battle Setting. So overall, this is actually really cool. I will say it does stand out a little bit. It doesn't really fit in the rest of the UI. I think it would have been better if it was on the bottom left, maybe, you know, somehow integrated into the kind of little hood you have there for the vehicle, maybe even as one of the lines or one of the boxes as well. It's kind of floating out near itself. And also I would increase the contrast, and what I mean by this is I would increase the color separation between if you have ammo or if you don't. It's the actual ammo indicator itself, the difference between the actual ammo in it and not having the ammo in it is very small. You're basically going from a gray to a slightly lighter gray. So I would increase that contrast just a little bit, just because of the fact I get why it's there. I get why it's, you know, it works how it does. But the problem is it really doesn't kind of show it, because you have to kind of squint to look at it. And in War Thunder, you want your UI elements to be bright. You want them to be highly contrasted because you have so many different places to look already. You need a quick glance to see what's going on and then, you know, look to the next bit. So those were the 2 little changes I would make, but I think overall it's a nice addition. There was also a bug fix that resulted in visible muzzle flashes while observing from the machine gun in simulator battles or with the gunner camera enabled. They also fixed a bug on the normal fire while blowout panels were triggered on the following vehicles, a bunch of high-tier vehicles basically. This was a bug that affected a ton of stuff when the blowout panels first came out. What would end up happening is if your blowout panels went off, it would always set your engine on fire, or it would set the fuel tanks on fire below you. So even if you didn't have FPE, you had to use an FPE to be able to put it out. So looks like this was either an old bug that came back or a bug that just was never fixed. So nice to see it being fixed. I remember it used to happen on the Abrams quite a lot, but the Abrams is not one of the vehicles that's listed, so I'm guessing that was fixed before. The Orbal 74, the smoke grenades have been changed to modern aerosol type, so that means that they'll go off quicker. That's completely fine, should work pretty well. And the ARL 44, they've changed its gunner sight, so from 1.9 to 3.5 to ×4. So that means once you're looking in the gunner sight, you'll have less, you'll be able to not change the field of view, but you'll have increased zoom. So you'll be able to use that gun at longer ranges more effectively, and that is the main attribute of the ARL 44. Its gun's very good, everything else about it not great, mainly its lineup, the fact that it doesn't have one. The IS-3 and IS-6, the AA machine gun is now controlled by the loader, so if the loader gets taken out, the top machine gun gets killed. and since, you know, at least the loader is a bit more high priority than the commander in vehicles like that, at least it may last a little bit longer. For aviation, there was a few things that were changed as well. So the F4E for the Israelis, there was a bug fix where the pylon was missing while equipping the AIM-9G missiles. So nice to see that they've added that in, a bit of a visual glitch there. The G91R4, the position of the guns has been fixed in the secondary weapon menu while installing the AS-20 or AA-20 missiles. Guns now shifted to the right side of the fuselage, which is, you know, where they actually are, so that's good. The MiG-27K, a bug has been fixed where unused pylons were displayed in the custom weapon setup with the CAB 500 and CAB 500L guided bombs. The EC665 Tiger HAP and the HAD, the position of the gunner's camera in the cockpit, has also been fixed. And then there was also a bug fixed where in the custom weapon setups, a bomb drop might temporarily disable any following bombs in the drop order. A bug has also been fixed that prevented the display of the nozzle flame in the wet mode when vertical synchronization was enabled, and then also another fix that resulted in flickering in mirrors in the hood in cockpit view. I'm actually having a few flickerings going on in a different way. When I was playing my ZSU-37 earlier, when I was getting one of the challenges for the Battle Pass done, I found out that the whole UI was flickering, and the way that I fixed it was to go into gunner mode, and that sorted it out, but it was very odd to see it. There was also a bug fix that prevented the hood visor from displaying in the cockpit mirror as well. And then two naval ones as well. The Congo, they fixed a bug that prevents auxiliary caliber round change in battle. So you literally couldn't change your auxiliaries, but now you can. And then also desynchronization of the reload speed on the reload indicator. And then the crew skill tab has been fixed for the blue water ships, which is fantastic. By the way, there is an issue with naval going on right now. And since the event's going on, it's incredibly annoying. Naval is crashing my game 2 or 3 times a day when I'm playing it, and I can't figure out what is causing it. It seems to be completely random. Sometimes when I'm in planes, sometimes when I'm in ships, sometimes I'm just driving around, sometimes I'm shooting, sometimes I'm rocketing. It's very confusing, but I've had 2 or 3 hard crashes per day while doing these summer challenges for naval. And hopefully that gets fixed soon. But as I said, there seems to be no rhyme or reason why it's happening. No idea what's going on with it, but it is definitely there. And it's also being experienced by other people that I play War Thunder with. They're having a similar problem where it's just crashing their games. It's very weird. So hopefully that gets addressed at some point. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.